record. Hopefully no one minds. You guys can go. We're just gonna see. Sorry, we're also in our staff kitchen, so we're sharing space, but they're not gonna interrupt us, and we love having people see us cook. So, all right, so today we're gonna do 2 recipes, the chard and wild rice salad, and then a wild berry crisp. We're gonna start with the wild rice salad, and then we're gonna move to the dessert, because I know that's what everyone wants, so we'll have you wait, so that way you stay the whole time. So we actually cooked the wild rice before we started today, because wild rice takes a long time to cook. That's our cooked wild rice. If you've ever seen, I should have brought it out, but if you've ever seen the uncooked wild rice, it's all these kind of black grains and a lot darker. This is what it looks like after it's cooked and those grains have kind of burst. So you're gonna wanna see some of those bursts when they cook. It's gonna take about an hour to cook on the stovetop. You can soak it in advance if you want to. And then it'll take about half the time to cook, but don't soak it for more than 2 or 3 hours, because otherwise it'll start to burst before you even cook it. Does anyone know well, here's a question. What is wild rice? Is wild rice truly rice? Does anyone know?
It's a grain.
It's a grass.
Today.
It's a grass.
It's a grass, yeah, it's a seed from a grass. Yeah, absolutely. And it's there are different kinds, and there's kinds that are native to North America, and were used a lot by the different tribes as kind of a staple grain or starch. But it is not truly a rice. We only call it a rice because it eats a lot like a rice, right? And so it has some health benefits over even brown rice, which is also a whole grain. And wild rice is considered a whole grain. It's lower calorie and lower carb than other types of rice. So a cup of like brown rice would be about 52 grams of carbs, and a cup of wild rice is about 35 grams of carbs. So for people with diabetes or who are watching their carb intake, it's a good alternative. It has the same amount of fiber as brown rice. White rice is going to have a lot less because it's processed and a lot of that's removed. And remember, for those of you who know me, I don't go a class without talking about how amazing fiber is, right? Fiber is good for our heart health, for our cholesterol, for our gut health, for our blood sugars. It protects us from heart disease. So fiber is sort of magical. So the more we get, the better. It's high in antioxidants, and it's high in a lot of micronutrients like manganese, phosphorus, magnesium, and zinc. And it's even pretty good in protein, and it's considered a complete protein, meaning it has all the different amino acids we need. So wild rice is a great option. I'd encourage you all to give it a try. We bought it from the bulk bins at Winco, so that's probably one of the cheaper ways to get it. It does tend to be a little pricier. See if you like it. It's a little chewy and different than regular rice, but I really like it. You can also mix it with brown rice if you don't love the taste as it is. So the first step of our recipe was to cook that rice with a little bit of butter, a little bit of salt, and those are both optional. You can just do it with the water if you'd like. It just adds a little more flavor. We made sure all our water is absorbed, and then we're going to make sort of our dressing. So the first thing we need to do is our lemon juice. And there's a lot of ways to get juice out of a lemon, but I'll say this, if you're gonna, fresh lemon juice is about 1,000,000 times better than the stuff that comes in the little lemon squeeze thing. So there are some things that are great and convenient and taste really good, and I'll use, is when it comes to lemon juice, I almost always try to buy the fresh lemons and use those. And it makes it easier when you have the right tools. So I've got a juicer here that I really like. It's a handheld style one. And I'll show you how it works. And I'm going to go right into our measuring cup here. So I'm wasting fewer dishes, and I have to do less dishes later, because I don't know about you, but I do not like dishes. So it squeezes really well. It squeezes a lot out of it. And I just kind of tip it to the side and squeeze. And you're done with half. I'm going to do the other half. You can also do those handheld ones that you press, or the electric ones, or you can even squeeze it with your hands. If you're going to do that, when you go to the store to pick out your lemon, Make sure it's kind of soft and easy to squeeze because some of these are really hard. Like even this one's pretty hard with the device. So I'm just going to check. I need a little more, it looks like. And you'll see that what I'm using here is a glass measuring cup, and that's a liquid measuring cup. So we use ones that look like this for liquids, and we use ones that look like this for our dry ingredients, which we'll do later. So we'll probably need about one more of these, I think. You can see I'm getting a lot more out of here than I would if I was doing this by hand. I'm just going to check before I squeeze that all out. And yeah, that's about a quarter cup. So to get the most accurate, and this recipe and the next recipe does not require accuracy. So please don't worry too much if you do a little more, a little less. It's all about personal taste. But I can see if I bend down and get eye level, that's how I'm going to get my most accurate measurement, which might be important if you're baking something or doing something that requires precision. Again, honestly, if I was making this for myself at home, I probably wouldn't even use measurements. I just kind of guess, but that's just me. So I'm going to pour that in here. And then we're going to want to add our olive oil. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to use the same measuring cup. Olive oil has a lot of healthy fats for us. It's one of the best oils. It still has a lot of calories like any fat, but we need fat. That's good for us, and the healthy fats are the best. All right, and then our next step is the garlic. And I want to thank our community wellness garden for the garlic. I had a lot more than this. I only needed one, but they've been growing tons of garlic, so I grabbed it from them. And there's a number of ways to get the garlic into your dressing. And this is for any dressing. You want to make it pretty small, right? You don't want to have big chunks of garlic. So regardless of what I'm going to use, I always want to start by removing the peel. And that can be really challenging if you just try to do it. So what I do is I cut both sides off. And you need a big like chef's knife for this, but then I crush it with my palm. And then you'll see that that peel just kind of comes right off of here. So much easier than if I tried to do it without doing that. So that's one of my favorite tricks. Now I can either chop this, or I can use another cool tool, which is our mincer, our garlic press. And all you do for this one, and you absolutely don't need this, this is just more fun stuff you can have in your kitchen. And you're just going to press it over there. And you're going to see it comes out the end. And I just use the knife to kind of get it out and in there. You're going to have some excess, which you can either try to repress, which I do. Like this one has a lot, so I'll try to repress it. Get a little more out. And then I can either take the rest and mince it or think, okay, I probably have enough. So for this case, I'm just going to say I probably have enough. Although I'll be honest, never enough garlic in anything, in my opinion. So that is our garlic and our lemon, and we have our, and then we're going to put in a little bit of salt. I probably won't even use a half a teaspoon, and I'm not even going to measure. It's up to you. I'm just going to do a few grinds in there, and we can always add more later. So you never want to add too much salt. Salt, if we have too much salt intake, can increase our blood pressure and have a negative impact on our heart health. So start with a little, add more later. That's always what I do. So we've got that all in there. We're going to mix it up. Nothing fancy here. Just make sure this is just basically our dressing. And one thing I really like about this recipe is we're going to make it all in this bowl. So again, fewer dishes. Awesome. Always a good thing. So I'm going to put these things to the side because we don't need them. And we're going to talk about how to cut a bunch of vegetables basically next, because I know that new vegetables can be really intimidating for people if you don't know how to cut them. And one of those that's probably new for some of you is fennel. Fennel to me tastes like licorice, but it's really nice and crunchy. And there's 3 different parts when you buy it. So you have the fronds, which is this the thin green part on the end, the leaves sort of. You have the stalks and you have the bulb. The fronds and the bulb are really good in salads. You can eat them raw. and you can use the fronds for flavoring. The stalks are really good for stock. I wrote that down early on. The stalks are good for stock. And so you can save those and make a veggie stock. In fact, there's a number of things we'll have extra that you could save and make a veggie stock out of. For this recipe, we're just going to use a half of this bowl. So we're going to start by chopping off the stalks here at the end. And we'll, again, save those for another day. And I forgot to say at the beginning, everything here is washed. We spent a lot of time washing and prepping. We're going to want to do that. And I also washed my hands before I started. So you should too. Okay, so we cut that off. Now we're going to cut this in half. And this is one good safe way to chop is if you put your other hand on top. And then you are going to see a really small, it's probably easier to see on here. You're going to see like a core right there. You don't want to eat that. So we're going to actually remove that. I'm just going to cut a little more off the bottom and make it a little easier. There, you can see the core really well. So we're going to just cut out that core by making a wedge shape and kind of getting that out of there. It's not going to kill you. It's just a little bit more tougher. We don't need it. And after you're done with that, you can cut this any which way you want oops, things are flying, to get it chopped. And I'm just gonna probably save this for some stock too. And then I'll probably line these up and just get it going. And again, this is not a precise recipe, it's a salad. So do what makes you happy with how small you want to make these, okay? What you like in your salads. Nothing has to be perfect. All right, so I've got my fennel chopped. I'm going to save this second half for something else. I'm going to move this a little closer. We're going to add it to the bowl. So we've got one vegetable down. I'm going to take a small second there. Does anyone have any questions about anything we've covered so far? Okay, I think that is a no. Let's do our pepper next. And I'm always looking for fun new ways to do things. So I'll be honest, this is not how I normally cut a pepper, but I'm going to learn with you guys today. So you can grade me later. You can use any type of pepper here. The sweeter ones are the orange and reds. I'm going to cut off the top here to make it a little flat on the bottom. So I can do like this. And then I'm going to kind of cut around these edges here. Avoiding the seeds in the middle. And hey, look at that. All the seeds we can toss. We got a little part here we can actually use. And I'm gonna clear off our cutting board so we can chop this up too. It's gonna be easier, I think is what I wrote, to chop skin side down, which is, so whenever you chop your pepper, you're gonna do skin side down. And we're gonna need a half a cup of this. We will measure, but you don't have to, right? If you love pepper and you hate fennel, use more of the pepper, right? And we'll just throw it in our dry measuring cup. It's really not much at all, so I might use a little more because if you know me too, you know that I love to encourage people to eat their vegetables. So why not add more veggies, right? Okay, so that's about a half a cup. I'm gonna take our remnants and put them in there too. Just do this little baby guy. So I am sold on that way to cut a pepper. Thank you, Gordon Ramsay. who I am not, so I appreciate you being here today. So now we have our pepper and our fennel. Next, we're gonna do our cabbage. We have a lot more cabbage here, even though it's really small than we actually need. When I prepare cabbage, I usually take off the outer layer and then wash it, and then everything else should be pretty clean. So when we do our cabbage, we also have a heart. So we're gonna wanna cut through. You're gonna want a good knife for this one too, which I don't know if I have. We're gonna put some of that aside again. We're gonna cut through one more time, and you'll see me every time I'm cutting, I'm trying to get a flat surface down, and that's for safety and for ease of cutting. So always try to put that flat surface down. Okay, so this is our heart on a cabbage that we want to take out. And again, that's just because it's a little tougher, won't kill you. Nothing here will, but so I'm gonna just chop that out. And I love chopping cabbage because it's really, really easy. Once you do that, you're just gonna kind of go across here, get some nice little shreds, because this is just gonna shred apart, and then we're gonna go this way. You'll notice this table is not the right height for me. You should always cut at a table that's a little more higher up. Again, we're looking for about a half a cup. This is probably more. I'm just gonna throw it in there. And when Aurelia and I eat it later, we'll just get to enjoy more veggies. All right. We're gonna do our greens, and this could be chard like this. This could be kale. This could be collards. I'm not a huge fan of collards raw, but some people really like them, so we got some chard. And I'm actually going to do these one leaf at a time, so I'm going to keep my excess here. Again, you have your stalk and you have your leaf. Since we're eating this raw, I'm going to remove the stalk. You can absolutely eat it. It's just a little tougher, but it's a good thing to save for broth again. So, and if you're making like smoothies or something, you probably do want to remove the stalk. It's not going to grind up very well. And it's super easy. You just cut on both sides and up until it gets really small. And you've got that removed, and we can put that aside for later. So I'm going to do that with each one. And while I do that, again, any questions about what we're doing so far?
These are a lot of new vegetables that I haven't eaten or used or prepared before. Can I just get them in, like Safeway or whatever, like just a regular grocery store?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So everything we bought here today, except for the garlic, because we got that from the garden, was from Winco. So you can get everything we got for this meal at a Winco or a Safeway or anything like that. You can also get it at a lot of farmers markets. And if you receive produce from our garden, you'll get a lot of this stuff as well. But yeah, you might just have to take some time or ask your produce guy like where things are, and you don't see it right away. But yeah, and there was even a lot of options. So when Rayleigh and I went, we were like, do we want red chard, or do we want green chard, or do we want kale or collards? They had all the options there. So yeah, definitely something to explore and try. And these greens in farmers markets are some of your cheaper options actually at the farmers market. So it's kind of cool thing to know how to use. And the fact that you don't have to cook them is really, really nice. And again, chard in smoothies, good idea as well. And I'll say this, if you're not super fond of cutting vegetables and you're like, I would eat that, but lots of work, which I don't blame you. A lot of these come pre-washed, pre-packaged in that section too of the grocery store. That's a great question. Any other questions while I chop this up? And I'm just lining the leaves up here to make it a little faster. And it's kind of going, and I'm not doing anything crazy. They say very finely chopped. We'll see. again, I'm not super keen on being that crazy about it.
How long does this last? Like if you have it refrigerated, the salad, how long?
That's a great question. I imagine it'll be about 3 or 4 days. Great. Anyone else while I struggle through this part? Does anyone have any other great recipes that they use these dark leafy greens for that they want to like share what they like to cook with this stuff?
I had a question on the fennel. Can you make
Mhm.
that like in a soup too?
Yeah,
With
you
the
can
stock?
absolutely. Yeah, you can use the fennel in the soup. What I would recommend is if you're not familiar with fennel, try some first so you know what that flavoring is going to be for you. But yeah, you can absolutely use it in the soup. It's a really different flavored vegetable. I really like it, but I can see where some people might not be fans or it might not suit every flavor profile for a soup. But yeah, it's the bulb is really tough, so it's not going to break down too much in the soup. And you can use the, like I said, the stalks for stock. So you can definitely get that flavoring in through the making a vegetable stock too. Anyone else? All right, next we got our parsley. Does anyone know what type of parsley this is?
Italian?
Yes, this is your Italian or flat leaf parsley. So there's a couple types you're going to primarily find in grocery stores. The other one's going to be that like tighter, curlier one. Recipes will sometimes call for a specific one. Try to follow it, but they could replace one for the other. But in this recipe, we're going to do our Italian flat leaf, which I really like the flavor of even more than the other one. With our parsley, we're going to want to avoid using our bigger stalks at the bottom. So we're just kind of want to take those off. And then all I do again is kind of like bunch it up and chop. And of all the veggies, this is more like an herb anyway, but we're probably not going to want to go too crazy like I did with the other ones. Like, hey, it's going to have a pretty strong flavor. So if it calls for half a cup, we might want to stick with half a cup. And we also want to kind of make sure it gets a little smaller. It can just be really strong flavored. So sometimes we don't want to buy herbs like this, or fresh herbs, because they go bad quickly. Does anyone have any ideas how to keep these fresher in the refrigerator so we can use it for something else later?
You can chop them up and mix them with olive oil and then freeze them in ice cube trays.
Oh, cool. That's not something I've heard. That's a great idea. Thank you. Any other ideas?
Or you can get a paper towel and put it with cold water and wrap them around and put it in a Ziploc bag.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great one. I'm just gonna go wipe off my hands real quick. Yeah, that's what I like to do in the Ziploc bag. Some people will put them just directly in water. Relia, I think, has a fancy little
Storage
storage
container.
container that works too. So that's kind of cool. All right, so we got all our greens and veggies in here right now. We learned how to chop a bunch of them. So we're gonna stir it up because we've got that dressing on the bottom. This was the biggest bowl I have, but because we got really overzealous with the veggies, it's gonna be tight. But this is a dish that's just full of good stuff. We've got our lot of non-starchy vegetables, which are full in fiber and micronutrients and antioxidants. And then we have our healthy fat. And we have the great flavorings of the lemon juice and garlic, so we don't have to add too much salt. And then we have our healthy, native starch here that we're gonna go ahead and add in. So this is what 1 cup of wild rice looks like cooked. So it's a pretty good amount. We wish you guys were here to share this with us because we're not gonna be able to eat it all.
I had
You-
a question. on the
Mhm.
rice, did
Yes.
you pre-soak it, or you just made it, with the cup of rice and the water all together?
We just did that the second way, but if you do pre-soak it, don't soak it for more than 2 or 3 hours, and it will cut down the cooking time by about 50%. So if you do want to do it, and I have heard that you can cook wild rice in the microwave and in a rice cooker too, but I do not have experience with that. But definitely Google it.
Is it, you let it cool off then after you've cooked it?
We did, yeah. You don't want to add it, warm is good in this, but you don't want it super hot. But if we let it sit for a while because we were prepping and we didn't want to be late for you guys, but you could add it in, 10 minutes after it comes off the stove. Yeah, so that is your salad. So these are great questions. Any other questions about this recipe before we move on to dessert, which I know everyone's waiting for? Okay, cool. So that's a great salad. Again, it's got traditional foods, it's got lots of veggies, it's got your healthy fats. And if we want to, we could add some more salt. So once we taste it, we might want to add some more salt. We might want to add some more lemon. And we also might want to add some cheese or something on top. Not too much, but a little bit would probably be nice. Maybe some hard cheese like Parmesan or something is what I would do. All right, so we're gonna mosey on over to our dessert table, because that's what we have, a dessert table here. So we're gonna make a wild berry crisp today. And like all desserts, we wanna have it in moderation because it does have some extra sugar and things like that. But crisps, especially berry crisps, are healthier dessert choices than some other things. Anyone have any idea why a crisp might be a healthier option?
Cooking with oats.
Yeah, so you got this whole grain, right? That's your primary grain, is whole grain. So that's awesome. Yes, you got the oats. What else?
Do you add sugar to that?
We are going to
brown
add
sugar?
sugar. We are going to add some sugar in the form of honey, but it's still sugar. So in that sense, it's probably not a big sugar reduction, but the berries are lower sugar and lower carb than a lot of other fillings. So we have a lot of fruit in it too, which is awesome. And our berries can be traditional foods too. So this is we're meeting right around huckleberry season, right? What a great thing to do with huckleberries if you can gather enough. I can't because half of them go in my mouth and they're so small that I could never make this, but maybe you are better, have more self-control than I do. But blackberry season too right now, right? What a great thing. That's a lot easier to collect a lot of. Or you can do what we did and buy frozen berries at the store, because sometimes that's easier and that's what we need to do, but we still get all the benefits of, the berries and the great nutrients in them. Crisp will use a lot less of our butter, and butter is a saturated fat, which is something we want to limit. So we're going to use about 2 tablespoons in this whole recipe. So that's a lot less than. Anyone out there ever made a pie crust? I know there's people out there who are pie makers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much butter goes in a pie crust?
A lot.
Wow.
A lot.
More like a stick than 2 tablespoons,
Yeah.
right? Or maybe even more. So we're using a lot less of this unhealthy fat. We've got our healthy berries, we've got our healthy whole grains, and we've got nuts in this one too. And the hazelnuts are also a native food, which is awesome. And nuts have more of those healthy fats. They have protein. So as far as desserts go, it's a good one. Again, still consume in moderation, but there's a lot to be said for a crisp. So we're going to start with we're going to start by preheating the oven, which we already did. So I'm not going to show you. You don't need to see me doing that. So that's always the first thing, because that can take some time. And I just want to give a little shout to oven thermometers. So if you're not sure, if things that you're baking aren't coming out right, consider investing in one to make sure that your temperature that you're setting is the temperature that it's actually reaching, because a lot of times it's not, and we can correct it by going a little up or down when we set when we set our temperature. So we're going to mix the filling ingredients. So we bought one of those big frozen bags of berries from Winco. So that's what's in here already. I didn't even measure it because I'm a rebel like that. And then we're gonna put in a half a cup of either honey, agave, or xylitol sweetener. So we've got some honey here, and I only have a quarter of a cup. So I'm gonna do about 2 of these. I tend to use less sugar than called for in recipes. I think people tend to call for too much, and the berries are already sweet.
You're okay putting a quarter if you want.
Hmm?
You're okay putting a quarter if you want.
Yeah, you can put a quarter. I'll do a little more because I didn't even fill that up all the way. But try it the first time, and if you're like, that's sweet enough for me, then that's sweet enough for you, right? Why put in more? Enjoy the berry flavor. Okay, so we're gonna get all that out, not waste our honey. If you can, local honey is a great thing to buy. It's been known to help with allergies. So if you do suffer from allergies, adding a little bit of local honey might help. And then we're gonna get our cornstarch, and we're only gonna get, we need 2 tablespoons of that. Anyone know why we add cornstarch to this? What does cornstarch do when we cook?
Thickener.
It's a
Sorry. I missed that.
thickener.
Thickener, yep, it's a thickener. So you'll see cornstarch added to sauces, you'll see cornstarch added to fillings like this, so that it's gonna take that liquid that these berries are letting go of and kind of thicken it. So I'm gonna start to mix this in. We have one more thing to add to our filling, and that's our lemon juice or lemon zest. So either one is fine, but I'm going to use actually the zest from a lemon that we used in our other recipe. So again, reducing waste. So we have our lemon that we squeezed already. The zest is just the part of the outside part of the peel or the rind. I have this really cool tool called a Zester. I guess that's what it's called. That's what I call it. I don't know what it's actually called, but it creates really fine gratings. There's a lot of versions of this, but this one I really like. The key to doing this right and getting good lemon zest is you don't want any of that pit, which is that white part, because that's the bitter parts. When people don't like the zest, it's because someone probably got too much of that white part. So you want to just get just that top part. We only need a teaspoon. I'm not even going to measure it. I'm just going to go right over the bowl to avoid having to. So you see, I'm only going to go just a little, and I'm going to move around it. And this is easier if you haven't squeezed the lemon first, but again, getting full use out of what we have, right? And I'm getting a little juice in there at the same time. So I'm just gonna go all the way around, getting a little bit off of all sides and not going too deep. And you'll see it's coming off there. I'm just gonna kind of get it off into our, and we got some juice, so I'm gonna say that's enough, because I can. And we're just gonna mix it up again. That's just gonna add a little more flavor and tartness to this. Okay, and I've got my pan already here. So I think I just want to check. Move it to my baking pan once it's all mixed up. And just kind of get that spread out. And you'll notice I am a messy cook. And that's okay, right? We don't want to not cook because we're not messy. We also want to have fun. So I see now I'm putting this out here and I'm like, I could see this being made in a smaller dish too. So if you don't need a dish this size, I think it won't matter very much. Again, this is a forgiving dish. All right. Next we are going to next we're going to chop the nuts. So we've got 2 types of nuts that we are going to be using today. We're going to use hazelnuts and walnuts, and we might be able to buy these pre-chopped, which is totally fine, but we might not, or we might want to save some money. So we got not chopped ones, so I can show you a little trick that I like. Because you can either chop them by hand with our chef's knife, which is totally fine. We can put them in a food processor, or we can use, oops, I forgot there was honey in there. Don't do that, guys. We'll just guess again. Or we can use a rolling pin to chop it up. So let's see if this works now that there's honey also in there. So I'm gonna guess that that's about a half cup. And you're gonna wanna kind of close it almost all the way, get the air out. Get that knife away. I don't like to get hurt. And you're gonna just use some force. Hopefully your table doesn't shake quite like mine does. Break them up using that rolling pin in that bag. And the hazelnuts are a little bit tougher than the walnuts to do this with. But you'll see it does work. We are getting there. We have to get the first break up. And you'll see we're getting our chopped hazelnuts. Okay, so that's that. And I'm gonna put those in our pan. I'll turn them on in a second. And I'm gonna get another bag that I haven't ruined for the walnuts. 'Cause I forgot what was in that measuring cup. And we're gonna do it, and you'll see this is gonna be a bit easier. And again, Winco had these already chopped for the same price, but we care about teaching you guys. You'll see this is really easy, so you don't want to do too much and turn it into total oblivion, but that was pretty darn quick for the walnuts. So we're doing that. We got our 2 things of nuts. We're gonna put our flour, and we got our, I'm gonna use a 3rd cup and just do part of it. This is buckwheat flour because Raylia is gluten-free, so we're experimenting with a different type of flour. We'll let you know how it turns out. And then we're gonna want our oats too. So our oats, we're supposed to do 1.5, so we will do. This is gonna be our topping, right? And I wish I had a slightly bigger pan, so if you have one, use it. This is all I had. I'm gonna turn this on to kind of a medium. You don't want it too high. And we're just gonna kind of heat this until it's sort of heated through. We're kind of roasting it, right? And you'll know it's done because you'll actually smell it probably before you see it. So when you know that smell of roasted nuts, you'll be able to kind of smell that roasting, and that's how you know. That's that nice smell before you smell the burn smell when you forgot them, either in the oven or on the stove. So those of you who've done that before know what I'm talking about. So while we're doing this, any questions about what we've done so far with the berry crisp?
Yeah, I had a question. Say like someone's doesn't want to use the oats, can they use that grain-free oats? I mean, the gluten-free clusters?
So the oatmeal is naturally gluten-free. You might have to find one
Okay.
labeled gluten-free, but everything we put in here is gluten-free. So to be totally safe, look for gluten-free oatmeal, but it's no different really. All they're doing is certifying that it was made in a facility where there is no gluten. But oats don't typically have gluten in oatmeal.
Oh, Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So yeah, this is an entirely gluten-free meal actually, so cool. Any other questions?
What temperature are you roasting those?
So this, I have this set to 5, which I think it goes from 1 to 10. So I have it
Oh,
on
okay.
a medium, and I'll kind of see how it goes. Again, if I had a bigger surface area, it's going to go a lot quicker because it would be more in contact with the heat, and I'd have to be a little more careful. But we'll kind of see how this goes. I'll see if I have to turn it up if it doesn't cook quick enough. But I always get nervous about burning things when I cook them like this, because we really don't want them burned, because that'll bring out a really like bad flavor. Any other questions?
So how long do you cook the nuts for? A couple of minutes?
Yeah, so I'm starting to smell it. I don't know if Relia can, it's hard with the mask on, but I'm starting to smell it just a little. So you're just gonna go kind of, when you start to smell it roasting, you start to see it browning and just heated through. So just beginning to brown. So it's gonna really vary. I don't want to give you a specific time. I want you to use your gut. And I know that's scary sometimes, but you're gonna see how long it takes. We have it on here. But again, if you have a bigger pan or you're using a different temperature, it's going to be at a different time. So I don't want you to burn it. I want you to watch it and kind of keep stirring like I am the whole time. You don't have to do anything crazy, but just watch for that browning and really pay attention to what you smell, because that's going to be your first sign.
Are you smelling the hazelnuts?
I don't know what I'm smelling. I think I'm smelling something roasting a little bit. So I think we're almost going to be there.
I do have a question. I don't have quite enough. I'm making this all vegan so my daughter can have it too. And I don't have quite enough of the apple-based honey alternative. How do you think maple syrup would be okay?
Absolutely. Yep. Maple syrup, agave, brown sugar would probably work.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, or just use a little bit less and it'll just be a little less sweet, but. Yeah.
Smell the oats.
Yeah. Starting, Relia said she's starting to smell the oats. I think I'm starting to smell stuff too. So we're going to give it like 1 more minute because it's just a really small pan. So I want to make sure they all get a chance to heat up and get toasted, because it's going to taste a lot nicer if we do that. All right, I think we're doing pretty good actually. So I'm going to turn this off and we're going to place it in a bowl. Okay, and then we're going to add the other stuff. So we're going to add, we're going to heat the butter and the honey. Sorry, that's my fault. I was wondering how the butter would get heated. So we're going to turn this back on. And again, we don't want this to burn, so we'll just heat it for a little. And my butter's already a little soft because it's been sitting out. And we're going to add in a little bit of honey. Again, we're not going to worry too much about the amount. This is 1/3 cup, so I'm just going to do part of it. Mix it in there. I'm going to turn this down. I think it's a little hot for our butter, but you want to give it time without burning. So I turned it down to 2 just now because I thought we had a little too much heat. I'm just going to keep mixing it to avoid burn again. And as soon as this melts, I'm going to take it off the heat and pour it onto that dry mixture. Okay, that's all we needed was a good mix and a good heat. I'll pour it on there. kind of wet and crumbly, which is what we want. We want it to brown really nicely on top of our crisp. Right. We're just gonna kind of sprinkle it over our berries as evenly as we can. And it's okay if it's not totally even, right? Because what have we learned today? That it doesn't really matter all that much. We don't need to stress. It's all gonna turn out good.
Would it be okay to put in like a vanilla, like an all natural vanilla
Yeah.
or
Oh,
almond
and I
flavor
forgot-
or something?
Right, and I forgot the cinnamon salt too, so yeah, you should probably do that. Yes, but I think that would be totally fine. Some vanilla would be good. I mean, I'd say if you want to add some nutmeg, if you wanted to add whatever, and because I forgot the cinnamon, here's what I'm gonna do. Sprinkle it on top. And I'm not even gonna add any salt. Salt would probably help the sugar, the sweet pop a little more, but we don't really need it. So again, you just seen me mess up a recipe and I'm not worried. It's gonna taste great. So this is gonna go in our oven. We're gonna bake it 30-40 minutes. And you just want the topping to crisp, those berries to bubble up, to be warm all the way through. And then you know you've got a good crisp and it's done. Any questions about making this?
What temperature are you putting in the crisp?
375. And that should be in the recipe. It's the first line. So we've already preheated our oven. So it should be in there so you don't have to memorize it. Any other questions? All right, so I'm gonna send you guys, want me to do it, the link. I'm gonna take over from Raylia. And I'm gonna actually, oops, show her and say, thank you, Raylia, for filming and being here. She's our health education assistant. She's amazing. Everyone's waving at you, Raylia.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna put in the chat now, and so you're gonna want to click on it. Oops, did it work? Nope. Hold on one sec. I will hopefully not lose you guys. Still on, so that's good. So this is the link. It should take you just a few minutes. We just want your feedback. We want to know how we can do better. Again, this was our first virtual cooking demo. We've done a lot of in-person ones, but we want to know how we did, and you'll be put in for a, okay, hopefully this works. If someone could click on it and just make sure, if not, I will send a new one. If so, hopefully someone can try and just give me a shout.
It works, Alyssa.
It works, perfect. Okay, so please fill that out. We'll get, I want to give someone a grater, someone a squeeze press juicer thing, some cool stuff to play with at home in your kitchens. So definitely fill it out before we end today. And can you believe it, for those of you who have attended my other classes, that I am on perfect time? So but before we end, does anyone have any final questions about these recipes?
I have a question. You said that you sent it out and I saw the icon come up, but it's not in my mail.
And so did you get the email a couple days ago with the information for this class?
Yes.
Okay, it should have been in an attachment, but I can send it out again. If you fill out that link that I just sent, I'll have everyone's emails. I'll send out those recipes again, okay?
Okay, well, I got the recipes. I was
Oh.
just wanting to answer whatever it was you said you needed
Oh,
to
okay.
do.
Oh, it's in the chat in Zoom. Do you know how to access that?
I am not finding it.
Are you on a
Oh, I see.
computer?
I am at chat. I see chat.
Okay, is there a
see.
link in there that you see?
There it is. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Sorry, I misunderstood your question.
No worries.
All right.
Where do
anyone
I
else?
see the chat? Yeah, where's the chat at? I'm on my tablet.
Okay, so on my phone, there's a button on the right-hand corner that says more. And when I open that, the chat pops up.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
And then we
Yeah.
just go to the link here.
and you just click on that link and it should open a Survey Monkey for you.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, and if for some reason you lose this link and you don't get a chance to fill it out, just email me because I want to make sure you guys do get a chance, but I like to only send it out to people who, attended and stayed. So I don't want to send it to the whole group, but just email me and I'll get it out. Okay, I see that the link isn't working for someone. Let me try sending a different version of it real quick and see if that works. But if not, again, just email me. It's hard because I'm on my phone and this is new for me too. So, but I'm going to send out one other version of the link. And that one might be easier. All right, anyone else? Any questions, problems they're experiencing? Okay, I hear it worked. Good, good, good. All right, thank you all for coming today. I had so much fun and I'm excited to try what I made. And I hope you tried too. And I will hopefully do this again soon. I think it went pretty well. So do be honest with your feedback and let me know what we can do better next time. And maybe next time I won't have to wear a mask and I can smile at you guys. So have a great rest of your day and week. And I'll hopefully see everyone soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Alyssa and everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.